I've asked for a clapboard since we started. I've asked for a monitor since we started.
We've got to start the show.
No, but here's the deal. Anything.
This is real, not here's the deal.
Leslie wants, it is immediate. I was like, Waylon, hey, I know, but I'm saying like, hey, Waylon, do you want a drink of water? Hold on a second. Dear Leslie, can I have a drink of water? And,
Okay, come on, let's start the show. You're crying.
Oh, that hurt bad.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
What does that even mean?
The truth is I never left you.
Leslie's album is on iTunes called I Don't Smoke, but I Sound Like It.
And action.
Hi, this is... hold 1 second.
Try that again.
And hey, good news.
Good news.
Good date, everyone. This is JP Miller.
I'm Leslie McCarter.
This is Real. It's our podcast, and we're so glad you're with us today. Today, we have a lot of stuff.
Oh, my gosh. So much.
And so...
Stay tuned, guys.
Yeah,
Stay
I want
tuned.
to tell everyone something.
Let me clean.
So, anywho, I
I want to tell everybody
a camping trip, and
that
we have a special
towel is specifically for makeup, not
for my
wiping
face.
up messes.
Guys, seriously, stay tuned though, because at the last part of our show today, we have a special guest coming on, and you do not want to miss this story that she has
she's
to tell.
Local.
She's one of my best friends.
It may be Dolly Parton.
It may be. Stay tuned, because we have a special lady coming on later on. But until she gets here.
Until then, I have to tell you, I went camping last week for vacation. Headed to
West Virginia.
Almost heaven.
He did not go camping. He went glamping. He stayed in a cabin.
Camping.
That does not count. That doesn't count. Leave in the
So-
comments below. Tent camping or glamping, what do you prefer?
Oh, hello.
Well, I know most people are gonna prefer
I
glamping,
love
but-
air conditioning.
I
I do
prefer
too.
staying at home.
Do you? I love going camping. I'd love
I
to
do
live
wanna
in a
go-
campground with all my friends having a different camper. We could cook together
Okay,
every night.
I'll
Having
go
a camp-
visit someone at the campground, but I
Having
don't
a
want to stay
camper-
there or set
Why?
all that up and pack it all up.
Setting up a camper though is a lot of work.
Ugh.
But I am all about glamping. I would tent camp too, but my back can't handle it anymore. I can't
Oh.
sleep.
Hashtag old age.
I really can't. It hurts.
Guys,
know?
pray for Leslie. So anyway, I'm
Pray for
driving
Leslie.
down the road going camping, and I'm like, Micah's like, I'm starving.
Hey, sorry, just to pause real quick. You've got like an Elvis little thing
Let
going
me-
on. It's a little distracting. Can we not fix that somehow?
That's better.
Hair and makeup.
I've had a lot of people say I look like Johnny Depp, and I lost 8 pounds.
Look at the side profile.
Chiseled. I had no idea
Chiseled.
that there was a bone here.
Yeah, I can see it.
So anyway, we're driving camping, and Mike is like, I'm starving. So he's
You
like, can we please?
stopped at the gas station for 20 snacks like
No,
we talked about
went-
last show.
He's like, can we go to McDonald's? And I was like, fine. And then it said McDonald's Playland. And that took me back to like when the kids were like little. And if there
Do
was
they even have the
McDonald's
Playland anymore?
Yeah, but I thought
they got rid of it because of the whole
gross.
Really?
CO
They
vid
never
thing.
clean it.
Well, think about it.
That is-
I
it
mean,
is
remember
really
at
gross
Showbiz
anyway.
Pizza, I would dive into the
The
balls.
balls.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And then the ski
they
balls.
cannot clean all that.
No.
How?
No, and kids used the bathroom in there and climbed up there and would stay, and the parents would have to climb up and get the kids.
They
At the same
enter-
time, though, but look at us. We're strong and healthy because your immune system.
The kids
Strong.
enter
Immune system
with
took over
socks
in it.
and leave with none. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
bottom of
yeah,
all the
like
balls
those
is
bouncy
dirty
houses.
socks
Can
everywhere.
Can you
Bouncy
imagine the
houses,
people
I'm
always
like-
having to clean that afterwards?
Ugh.
All the
Think they
dirty
ever
socks.
Clean it?
No.
That makes
No.
socks make me sick.
Whose job
Especially
is
the
that?
black ones on the bottom, like
Ew,
the kids.
sweaty socks.
We
I don't
have a
even like
real-
my own.
We have a problem with socks at our house. Like they disappear, and I actually have a picture of the last time we dumped out our socks. These are the ones that don't have matches only. I'd say there's over 100 in the photo right
Okay,
here.
so where do
Anyway,
they go?
The
I
socks?
need to know. I think they get eaten by the washer.
A
or
lot
they
of
get
times
stuck
they
in other
end up
people's clothes.
behind the washer.
I don't know.
or
Like,
dryer.
seriously. Like, I make sure that they're in the washer at the same time.
Or
the
underneath.
pairs. And then they don't come back out. I'm confused of the dryer.
2 socks go in, 1 sock comes out.
Well, basically with us, is
Thunderdome.
we do travel a little bit, and our lifestyle is a little unorthodox.
Erratic.
Is that a word or is that Jewish?
Is erratic right?
What's unorthodox
Spastic.
mean?
Unorthodox means you're
Unorganized.
unusual.
But isn't it Jewish?
We are definitely.
Oh, I was,
I
gonna
was
ask my
thinking
Jewish
about the other day all
friends.
the
Lily
jobs
Isaacs.
I've had.
Is that Jewish? Becky, Sonia, Ben. Hashtag
Someone.
Isaacs.
Comment now. I was thinking the other day about all the jobs I've had, and I wanted to ask you guys, like, what's like your favorite job you've ever had and the worst job you've ever had?
Worst job. I wouldn't say it was the worst, but for a minute, I owned a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Don't do that if you think you should.
It's owning a restaurant is very hard.
I literally went, okay, Jake. That's what I call myself when I'm talking to myself.
When I'm mad at myself.
Listen, Jake.
That's very unorthodox.
What have you done, Jake?
Jake, why don't you go in and just be the boss? You can. This is something you will now have a retirement, because I don't have any money, literally. And so I'm like, okay. I got in there and got in the middle of it, and I said, God, if you get me out of this, I will sing for the rest of my life because this is
running a business,
awful.
And especially a restaurant business, is very hard, especially this day and time because there's nobody to work. So what's your best job? Well, let me tell you my worst job.
Yes.
I would say probably selling timeshare. I was 19 years old, right out of high school.
Yeah.
Well, I waited tables first for a little bit at the Dixie Stampede here in Sevierville. Or Pigeon Forge. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to be a big girl. Like, go get a real job selling, try to make money. I didn't know what I was doing.
You would be better at it now.
I would because I've grown.
She couldn't
You're
do
too,
it.
you're
But-
too, not you're
no,
shy
because
then, but like
her
trying to help people
her
stuff.
heart.
I couldn't lie. And I'm not saying that all timeshare salespeople lie.
Some
I'm not
of them
saying-
do.
They do. That we were being taught things that when I was telling the customers later on, they're like, that's not even true. And I'm like, I felt bad and guilty because I told them, you're going to have pool access and all these things, and you weren't going to have all that, But anyways, that's when 2011, the planes crashed into the
9/11.
9/11 happened.
2011. Was that the year?
That was 9/11. Yeah. Yeah, that was 9/11 happened, and then everything shut down, and so I only had to do that job for 6 months. But in 1 month, I did make like $5,000 because I sold
nothing.
something. But back then,
I know.
for a 19-year-old, that was
Kinda
huge.
sweaty.
Ew, you are sweaty.
Sorry.
That was probably my worst job, but I did learn a lot through it.
It's
Waylon?
awful. Waylon?
Well, I've been thinking about it, and I think
Why
Fuller
is he
Brush
being asked?
was my worst job. It was actually, they had a place in the mall, and they sold like brooms and mops.
Brooms and mops.
And stuff like
and little
that.
brushes.
Little
Everything was a
brushes.
brush, a fuller brush.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our worst
You're not
jobs. Everybody
funny.
tell everybody your favorite job, JP.
Best job ever. You can't count this yet because
This is not a
We're
job.
losing
it's
money.
not a job if you don't get paid.
Correct.
I guess just my
Gospel
music life, but it's also fun because I used to get to do a lot of interaction with people live, and I make that fun, and I like a game show element. I like to put Jesus in everything I do, but the whole show doesn't have to be like,
Right.
Our Father. Welcome back to Catholic Radio. Good day. I'm Sister Mary Clarence. Joyful, Lord.
Leslie, what's
So my
your
favorite job
favorite
is definitely
job?
probably what we do now. Me and Waylon ran a dance studio for 10 years and a gym, and we sold the dance studio a couple years ago. I would say running the dance studio, there was definitely highs of it. It was a lot. It was definitely stressful at times too. But
It was really cool.
it was cool. I think the whole behind the scenes, like especially like doing recitals and
Productions.
competitions and productions, that's my favorite because the theater, the arts, working with kids, seeing that these kids love on you and it gives them something like hope, a place to come to and inspiring. I think that was probably one of my favorite. I still love personal training and health coaching now, but I would say the dancing aspect of it because that was probably my
I
favorite.
think that I love
Still love it.
live pressure.
Well, it's
Yeah.
my turn to answer, so
Oh, I didn't know you were a host on the show.
you can hold your
We
tongue.
really do have to talk about it.
Okay, what is
He
your
wants to be
favorite?
in the logo.
Go
ahead,
yes.
bub. I do love you.
I'm gonna piggyback off of Leslie's answer and say what we do now.
Yeah.
I like personal training and
Well,
group
that was
training
really
and-
important to chime in. Thank you. Guys, that was Waylon, his last appearance on This Is Real. He is literally the sound man and the custodian trying to get on the program.
All right, guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This is my friend and JP's friend. This is Cristy Layman. Cristy is going to be our special guest today on our show, and you're going to find out why here in just a few minutes as she shares part of her story. Cristy and I have been friends for 9 years, I think it's going on. Me and my
Rylan?
husband. Yes, I know. Me and my husband, we own a gym, and her husband came to work out with us, and we just kind of became instant best friends when they came in. And so we've been friends for a very long time, and she has a story to tell today, does she not, JP?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Recently, we were all somewhere and we got to talking and about life and whatever, and you started sharing your story with me, and I was like, are you serious? Like, this is
Like, it's almost
unsolved
surreal.
mysteries.
Yes, it
This is, you could have a Lifetime television movie. And the thing with tragedy or anything that is hard on us, when we share that with other people, I think it gives them a little bit of peace knowing that they're not by themselves, that they're not alone, and that something so unbelievably awful could happen to someone. And it makes you realize, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You know what to say. Tell your story. Thank you for being here.
I'm Cristy, like she said. Growing up, my parents were divorced, so I was just little when they divorced. So,
and you grew up around here?
Yes.
Smoky Mountains.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So my parents, my mom and dad had my sister Leslie and myself, and then they divorced, and both parents remarried. So I have a sister Brandy, when my dad remarried on my dad's side, and then I have a brother Robbie when my mom remarried. So they had kind of a rocky relationship, domestic violence and things like that growing up. So we were kind of exposed to that, but. Growing up, always in church, she taught me how to pray, taught me how to love people, taught me how to, but she's probably, I'm a nurse. I mean, you know, she just was somebody that she would love on you, pray for you. She was just one of those people. So basically she shared custody. So in the summertime, we would go to my dad's house, and he lived, you know, in Sevierville, and we lived with her through the year. She got divorced from my stepdad, and you know, was trying to make it on her own. And so that summer, I came here for the summer with my dad, and Leslie, my sister, went with her.
Now, how old were you at this time?
That was between 7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
So
like Leah's age.
Yes.
I mean, our daughter is
13-ish.
12 going on 13.
Yes. So that summer, Leslie had stayed here because she was in high school at that time. My mom had moved to Michigan, had met somebody, super sweet guy, good to her. So Leslie stayed here, and I moved with my mom. So that summer, we kind of just did a flip-flop. So that summer happened, and I actually was in Bible school at Jones Chapel, where Doug and I actually got married.
Oh, wow.
But that week, I got a call from my mom, and she said that she was coming to get me. And I said, well, wait till the end of the week. We're in Bible school. And I said, okay. And I could just tell in her voice something wasn't right. And I said, Mama, what's wrong? And she said, nothing. Don't worry your pretty little head. You know, nothing's wrong. And I knew something wasn't right. Unbeknownst to me, Leslie said that they had been at her boyfriend's house, Terry's, and while he was at work, they left and went to New York, where my ex-stepdad lived. And, you know, I don't really know the motive of why they went there or what have you, but Leslie came back home. She flew back home. But Mama told her just to promise not to tell anybody where she was at. She just said that, you know, that when you have kids of your own, that you will understand one day. You do things for your kids that, you know, might seem crazy, but you'll understand because you love your kids more than your life. So I didn't know this happened. You know, all I know is I got the call. So that was in the summer, and it was, she just didn't show up. That end of that week, she didn't call. She didn't show up.
So she was in Michigan.
And she was supposed to come back and get you.
She was actually in New York.
Okay.
When Leslie left her, she was in New York.
Okay.
But we had lived in Michigan.
Okay.
She had not talked to Terry, and she had been with Terry for like about a year. And so she had not spoke to him. And
that was the guy she had been seeing.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes. And so we just, like, she didn't come or didn't call. And like my mother was not like that. You know what I mean? She would always call. So time went on, and it gets like July 4th, and it gets like the end of July. And so by then we know Leslie.
Something's wrong.
Yes. And, you know, Leslie like called my grandmother, my mom's mother, and said, you know, Mama's not came and something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and so at that time they filled out a missing persons report because could not find her, did not know. And I mean, it got to where it was time to go enroll in school. And so, like, I didn't have any of my records or anything like
And you didn't know where your mom
have
was.
no clue. No clue.
You're 13, right?
No, yes.
And so you have no one has said your mom's dead, your mom left you, your mom flew to Ohio. I mean, it was just like, we don't know where she is. What was in your mind?
I felt like something happened to her.
Like someone hurt her, killed her or something. Okay.
I felt like that for my mom not to come, something was preventing her from coming.
So you said the last time you guys knew where she was in New York visiting her ex.
Yes.
Which was the ex-stepdad,
Yes.
the domestic violence and
Yes.
all that. Okay.
Yes. And, you know, so, but I mean, you don't, have nobody to call. And you have to remember, this was in the 80s. Like,
Yeah, no cell phones.
You know, she went missing in 1984. You know, there's not cell phones. There's not, you know, there's
Internet.
payphones then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you call, you got to call collect. You know, she had called and told my sister, you know, later that she felt like she needed to come back to Tennessee, that she needed to get a plane ticket and that she wasn't comfortable where she was at and she needed to come home. So she was supposed to call my sister back. So, you know, she'd called me and said that. On the other end, she'd called Leslie to say that, you know, she needed to get home. So I think she was supposed to call that evening and talk to my dad. And, you know, my dad and my mom, even though they were divorced, they got along well. I mean, you know, they shared custody, and my dad helped my mom. You know, one time her car was broke down, and my mom and my stepmom, which I call her my mom because she is my mom. She's the greatest lady ever. If you don't believe God puts people in your life, God put her in my life. Because she is amazing. And if anybody that has bad stepmoms, I'm sorry, because I got the best. But she's not my stepmom, she's my mom. But like, she even let her borrow her car before when her car was broke down. So like I remember going, when I would go in the summers, my real mother would say, you better clean up after yourself. You better not, you know, you be good to her, you know. And she wanted me to call her mom, you know, so I did. Of course. But, so Leslie got the call for her, that, you know, I really need to come back home. Something's not right. And, so Leslie said, well, can you call Daddy when he gets home from work? And she did never call that day. So I don't know if she just went missing that day or something happened that day, but we just don't know. But, you know, Leslie and I didn't discuss that at that time because we just thought, you know what I mean?
Also kids.
Yeah, and I didn't know she called her. She didn't know she called me.
Right.
And so because Leslie had made it, you know, back home, flew home, and then got the call. So school started back. We had to enroll in school. Like, and here, like, you know, you're meeting new people, or like, you know, I mean, so lots of people didn't know. I mean, you know, like, what do you say? Like, my mom's
Where's your mom?
missing.
I don't know.
You know,
What do
she's left you, and you know, like, I knew in my heart of hearts, like, you know, had you met me before you met me, you know, before all this, I would have said that my mom's missing, but something happened to her. But my head knew that, but my heart said, Lord, please let her be alive. You know what I mean? Let somebody have kidnapped her, or let her have left me. You know what I mean? Like, if she had left me, guess what? She would be alive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, but in my heart, I knew that's not my mom. My mom,
You
my mom loved
she
me.
was-
you know,
you
my
knew
mom
she
did
was hurt.
everything. She worked 2 jobs for us.
Yeah.
You know, I knew that. So, I mean, you know, your whole life you're praying for that. So, like, that summer comes and goes. That winter comes and goes. And time goes, you know, and your mom's not
Do you
there.
even remember, like, going to school? And I'm like, I don't know how you got dressed and went to sleep and ate and took tests. Like, I can't believe you functioned. You know, it was like you were on autopilot maybe or something. As a 13-year-old.
Maybe. Like, I remember meeting at New Center. I went to New Center in my 8th grade year, and I met a friend. Her name's Tiffany. We're still friends to this day. And she was new to the school, so we like had this bond. And she's probably the only person that I told about it to begin with, because how do you explain that? You know what I mean? Like, everybody else, their parents are married. You know, they have normal
They're certainly
lives.
not missing.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I remember you telling me this years ago when we first came friends, probably in that first year, and I was just like, what? Like, this is this story, and it's like, I knew that this had happened, but then when you retold it to JP recently, and we were talking about it, I'm like, you know what? This is insane.
Yeah.
So you're she's not coming. She's not there.
Yeah.
At what point does something change?
Probably at when she was missing for 7 years. They.
7.
I
mean, you're just going on. You're 20 at this time.
Yeah. They tried to get my grandmother to do like like declare her dead. You know, for us to even get benefits. You know, like, I mean, I think if you have a deceased parent, like, you know, and my grandmother just would never give up hope that she would hopefully find her. She just could not. There's no body or anything. I know they had came and interviewed my grandmother, and they came and interviewed my ex-stepfather, and, you know, he just said, you know, she went back down south. You know, so there was no body. she had not used her Social Security card, hadn't worked or anything like that. But, at that time, you have to remember there's not really a big computer system. In the early 80s, they're starting to get computer systems. So she did have an NCIC number or some kind of missing person number, but I don't know if that was not published or what have you. So at 7 years that happened. So time just goes on. And, I just remember praying my whole life, just please let her be alive. Let her be somewhere, So, my sister and I, we just managed, and like so many things you suppress so much. And, you ask, how did you survive? And, I can remember like in the worst of times, like when we didn't have money growing up and things like that. My mom would always tell me that, pick your chin up, Buttercup. That's what she would tell me. Pick your chin up, Buttercup. People in this world have it worse than we do. Yeah. We're not having no pity party today. And she would just tell you that. She just had this spirit about her that she didn't want you to be in a pity party. She wanted you to pray about it and move. So Leslie and I both had children, and it was hard when you have kids and you can't tell them. They do have this wonderful set of grandparents. My dad and my mom, Pat, and they have that. But like you think you need closure. Like it's this far. And you don't know. So pray. And that then you have computers. And I remember every so often we got a computer at home, a desktop, the big desktop. Yeah. And internet searching, unidentified female Michigan, unidentified female New York, unidentified female Kentucky, every state you can see. And some of the people that would appear would be dead people, and it is graphic images. It warns you. But like I had searched. So Leslie and I had decided, it was like a piece of us just was missing, so this is like 20 years. She's missing for 20 years. We just decided that we were going to pray about it. So I remember that whole weekend I prayed in a different way that I ever prayed ever before. Because before I was pleading the word, please let her be alive, or please, let her be crazy somewhere in a lunatic house, or you know what I mean. You're praying for all these things, and so that weekend, and I can quote the prayer because I prayed it so many times that weekend. Is, Lord, if you mean for me to find my mama, to show me the way, please, Lord, just show me. And so it was a Sunday night. It was the first year I'd started working at the school system. I had been at ER my whole nursing career and home health, and went to the school system, and I opened an atlas. This was an atlas. This is where available. You didn't just Google where you are on Google Maps. And I opened the atlas, and I pointed to New York because I knew the last place that she was alive was New York. And I decided that I was going to, before I went to bed on a Sunday, I was going to search every state except New York to Tennessee. That's just what I was going to do. I'm just going to point to it. Not New York. The next state from New York is New Jersey. So, unidentified female, New Jersey. And bam. This image appeared, and it was an image of it was a reconstructed image. There was a body, skeletal remains found alongside the interstate, and the remains that I, as a nurse, kind of knew not to look at the reconstructed image exactly because they might not have the hair right, or but like the cheekbones fit, her dental features fit. She said that she had missing teeth and a partial. My mom had a partial. I got my teeth after her. I have to have crowns on 2 teeth because...
Me too.
Yes.
So there you go. See that one. So, everything just fit. The skeletal, she went missing in the summer of 84, and the remains were found in the winter of 85. But her estimated time of death was then. So at the time, I didn't know this was her, and there was jewelry there, but that they showed images of, and I knew that it was the type of jewelry my mom would wear, but you have to remember it's 20 years, so my memory doesn't.
You were 13.
Yes, so my memory doesn't remember this jewelry exactly. The earrings were like an odd 3 and 2, and so that didn't match up, and my mom pierced my ears, and we both have 3 and 2. She pierced my 3rd hole, and So like, all those little things just added right up, but like my little heart was saying, Lord, please, this is not my mama. This is not my mama. It's not. And with that projected time of death, I just turned the computer off. I'm like, I'm going to bed. This is not my mama, and I'm going to bed. And so I tossed and turned the whole night and woke up early for work, logged back on. It was a Monday morning, looked again and said, this has got to be my mama. Mm-hmm. And so I called my sister Leslie and just said, Leslie, I think I found mama. And that turn of events, you start from there, we're trying to find dental records. So we called the New Jersey State Police and, ended up like trying to do some investigative work. And
so you took it upon yourselves to be the detectives.
Yes, because they're in New Jersey and we're in Tennessee. And, this is a cold case,
Yep.
for them. So when we talked to them, it was like it wasn't the homicide division. It was just the missing person to begin with. So it ended up that just through a series of events, and like my brother-in-law told me, he said, you finding your mom's like winning the lottery. Like her gone that long, and it doesn't feel like winning, but the odds are like winning the lottery, is what he meant. And and that whole time, those 20 years, you just put your grief on hold because you just pretend she's alive. She's alive somewhere. You just, because you don't grieve because, you miss her and you don't grieve.
And there wasn't a funeral. There wasn't a thing that said,
no.
Hey,
so you're like, and you think closure would help, like this is going to help me. These things are going to help. But closure was hard, because it was like grieving. Your grief's been put on 20 years and then you have to grieve. It changes you.
A murder.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. If it was me, it would be like, okay, now I know this, and now bitterness can come in because someone murdered your mother.
Yeah.
Someone did that to a human being, which we all know is sick and demented and demonic, but the thing is, it's like, it's your mother. What in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just having to deal with that in itself.
Yeah. And, when we, at this time, we still didn't know in this, was it her or not, and even that took prayer, sometimes like we pray and like, you pray how you want to pray.
Yep. We
hear
what
don't
we
pray.
want to hear.
Yeah. And so Leslie can tell you, helping the detectives find, how to identify her. She was in the hospital at Blunt Memorial with a broken rib one time. We tried to get her records because that, she had a healed broken rib on her skeletal remains. Wow. So, we were just trying to search for anything. So when we went over there, like we had called and, I worked in the ER, so I knew, you could find records in different ways and, how long do they keep those, your medical records. And, they're just like, no, can't find them. So then you're just like praying. So the detective had suggested that we go there. Yeah. That sometimes if you just, like put a face forward, like maybe they will take interest in it. So we showed up. My sister and I went over to Blunt Memorial Hospital, walked in and went to medical records. And, we were talking to this guy. He said, oh, yeah, I remember you. What an interesting case. I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. And because I told him on the phone the story while we're trying to help these detectives, while we're trying to look for medical records. And he said, oh, we were looking, and all of a sudden this lady appears. I guess it was the supervisor. And she's like, who are you? And I told her who I was. She said, staff has wasted enough time on this. We've looked and we cannot find your records. And so I was just trying to win her over to say, I know that, I worked in the ER before. Maybe the ER doctors billed themselves. Maybe it was, did y'all use a, separate physician service then or anything? She said, I told you that, you have wasted enough of our time that we cannot find anything. And I said, I looked at her, I said, ma'am, it's, my mother, I mean, we're trying to identify her. She's been missing for 20 years. What would you do? She said, I guess I would give up. And my sister Leslie got so furious. Like she just had to go out. She just was so upset and so furious. So I just walked out, went straight to the administrator's office. And, and the whole time I'm just praying, Lord, if you mean for me to find this, just please, just open the door, just show me the door. So I went to the administrator's office and the administrator was gone, but I think it was the assistant. And I'm like, told her my story, told her that her staff was inappropriate in what she said, and it was unacceptable, and that
because you're not like Miss Stupid. Like you have a degree. Like you worked in the hospital.
Yeah,
You know how
yeah.
to do things.
And I know, like, in my heart, I knew that they might not could find it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I knew that they might not, but like, we were just kind of pleading with them. Will you look one more time? Will you please? So she was very nice. She said, I'll see what I can do. I'll look into it. Went to the car with Leslie. We, just had our little cry down, and she said, I've got to go get some kind of dance shoes or something for Sam. And we left to Foothills Malls. We did not any sooner get to Foothills Malls that she called and said, I have those records. So we had to get them subpoenaed and all that. And then, so, like, I mean, even in that prayer, that you're just like a closing door. Nothing else to do but pray. Door opens, So then the other thing that happened was to find her dental records was a, fiasco. So we were just trying to think, most dental records, their business is closed. The dentist had died. We basically found old phone books from Blount County.
Yeah.
And after we had kind of exhausted all measures, my mom, Pat, said, hey, didn't y'all go to an Asian dentist? And the minute she said it, I'm like, I know where the office is. I remembered because I remember going there as a kid getting my teeth cleaned. And so we did exactly what the detective said. They said, just show up.
Yeah.
So we walked in, and the dentist was still alive. And he's like, you had bad teeth.
Oh, really? He said
he remembered.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
it was you. Yeah. Bad teeth.
Did he know the story?
He did not know the story at all. And so they said they had x-rays of my mom's teeth. And when I went there, they couldn't find, they were going to look. Their records were in storage. So he found them, and they released them to us. But what had happened, she had a bad tooth, and they sent her to get like a root canal, like an endodontist. Well, back then you had to go to Knoxville to do that. So we called everyone. One had died, and several different places. But I felt like I remembered that she went to off of Paper Mill, those two big buildings right there on the end of Paper Mill. Mm-hmm. I remembered her going there. Well, there was an endodontist there, and they just said, I'm sorry, ma'am. We do not keep records in climate control. Even if we had them, they wouldn't be good. So the door just slammed. We're not going to find them. You know what I mean? So we're going to have to wait on DNA evidence, to see, And so when that happened, like, I just remember I was working home health, and I just had, just prayed again, Lord, if this is her, help us know. And so I came home in between schools that day and stopped and pushed play on my answer machine. We had a home phone. People don't have home phones anymore. Yeah. And I pushed it, and it said, we have found your mother's records. And so they identified her 100%.
And how many years was that since she was missing?
21 years.
So you didn't know for 21.
21 years, no clue. That's okay.
And you kind of kept hope too.
In your mind, like, I just feel like in your heart you have to. I mean, like you felt like if you don't have a body, you're just giving up on your mama. And I feel like part of our testimony is that like my mom raised me to pray, but she also raised me to not hold this to my life. That to lift my chin up and to pick up and move, because I think when you talk about depression, it hit hard, and we found out that was her, and then it took us a long time to get her remains back, and we had a funeral, and I wanted to honor my mom and the mom that she was, and the mom that taught me to pray, and the mom that I'm a Christian, and I wanted to honor that, and but it when you talk about depression, like, I was somebody that I'm a nurse, and I know what depression is. I see people with it every day. But, like, you put up this guard against yourself. But this is not depression. Right. This is not signs of depression. This is, you're okay. You're okay. I was worried about my sister, and, talked about, going to counseling and things like that. And, it changed me. Like, I was sad, and I just bottled up this grief for a long time. And my sister Brandy, my younger sister, she changed me and helped me through. And I don't know if I've told her this, but what happened is she just said, she could see it making maybe making me ugly inside. You know what I mean? Making me different or making me stressed or whatever. And she just said, I miss my old sister. And I'm thinking, I feel like I've put this front on for years for everybody. I'm put this smile on. I pick my chin up. I do you know what I mean? I do this. And I was kind of a little angry. I'm like, both of your parents are alive. You know what I mean? They've not been divorced, And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. That's exactly what my mama would have told me and what my sister would have told me. That my mom wouldn't want me to throw a pity party. She wouldn't want me to do that. And the Lord wouldn't want me to. He would want me to share that and use it to somebody else's good. Like if we go, through
someone.
Yes, you pick it up and you use it to so sometimes we don't recognize these signs in our own self. And then what we can do through the word of the Lord to pick ourselves up, and witness to somebody else. Witness that, yes, I mean, if I can tell this story, but I can promise you there's somebody else that's got a story that's way, way, way worse.
Did you guys ever figure out how she died or whatever?
No. There was not any DNA evidence to link her to anyone that did it.
But did they say she was murdered?
Yes.
Okay.
It was foul play. They wouldn't exactly tell us exactly what happened, but they felt like it was knife related. Just some evidence on her bones. But that's just all that was shared with us because they didn't want to divulge anything that would affect the case because we met with them in Virginia. We met halfway and then they came here several times and, had interviews and, it's still an unsolved case. We still, don't have closure, but it's went this long. I don't know that it'll ever be solved. I just don't know that it'll ever be solved.
But are you at peace with that? I mean, because you feel like you're at a place of peace now with it.
What I pray is that who did this to my mom, I pray they get saved. And I know that means that person will be in heaven with my mama, and that's okay. I might not could have said that years ago, but I say that now, and I mean that.
That is something to say about, someone's character. I don't know what I would
Cristy
be.
So long, and as long as I've known you, you've always been so positive. You have been. I know.
I might be lying though. No, I'm just kidding.
Try to hold in. But,
Yeah.
You have always been that person that's trying to encourage. Even when Waylon and I have been through something, it doesn't matter who it is. You're always, you'd always tell me, pick your chin up. That's what you told me for 9 or 10 years.
I can feel my mother doing that. I can feel her picking my chin.
And every time I see a rainbow, I think of your mom, even though I don't know who she was, because of your story. And you said that was a reminder. Every time you see a rainbow, that reminds you of your mom. But, guys, this whole story, I cannot relate to this. JP can't relate to this. We didn't have someone in our family we've had people that's passed away, but to know that someone in your family was murdered and
your mom,
your mother, your own mother, but to know that God can give you the strength if you will keep your eyes on Him, and He can give you joy to continue on with life and take out bitterness and anger, and that you don't have to be in a place of depression. That does not mean that you're not going to go through times of grieving and sadness, and that there are still times. Sometimes I'm sure when you see that rainbow, you smile, but then there's probably times you may want to relive those moments, and that's where we have to choose, and that's where the Lord, we have to just give it to the Lord, because for me, I would want revenge. I'd be like that. But you know what? She's handling this in the way that we should look at life and when bad things happen. JP always says it. Say it, JP.
The rain falls on the just, and the rain falls on the unjust.
All the time, guys. It doesn't matter. And people be like, whoa, well, if your God is so good, why does bad things happen? Guys, because there's sin in the world. And guess who are the ones who sin? Us, all. And so it is our job as Christ followers, one, to stand on the word of truth, but to keep shining our light, to keep telling our story, and to keep following in Jesus' footsteps the best that we can. We are not going to be perfect. But I am telling you that this story has inspired me so much and JP, all of us, because
I've never been through anything like that. I've been through my own problems and my own struggles, and Cristy has a totally another testimony. She has tons of testimonies. We all have our own stories.
She'll be a weekly guest with all the bad things in her life.
But you know, the thing is that the joy of the Lord is your strength. It's our strength. So, you know, if you're finding yourself in a place of, gosh, depression, and you're battling something, and there's been a lot of hurts and pains and struggles and whatever in your life, cling to Jesus. Keep your chin up and cling to Jesus, and do what Jesus would have done. Keep loving, let unforgiveness go, and bitterness and anger. I'm sure that there's probably deep down, there's times you start thinking about it and you're like, oh my gosh, like anger can start to well up in you again when you overthink things. Yeah. But guess what? She's got to let it go, and he's got to let it go, and I've got to let it go, and you've got to let it go. So whatever it is that you're hanging on to, let it go and lay it at the feet of Jesus. Turn around from it and let him handle it. He will give you the strength to overcome. And your story and your testimony, just like Cristy's, is it may be different than everybody else's. But guess what? It's the Lord has allowed you to go through what you've went through for a reason. There is a purpose. There's a purpose for your pain. That's all I can end with today.
I feel like what's the point of this? Did you bring your friend on to say this crazy unsolved mystery Lifetime story? You know what I mean? Like, This is legit a Lifetime movie. Hello.
Somebody said, you need to go on Oprah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, we're the Regis and Kathy Lee of the Smoky Mountains. I'm just saying. But the point of me saying all this is, why do we want her to come on? We are in awe of someone that has survived something like that because of their faith. And I heard someone say once to their child that, how's your faith? And he was like, kind of, not great. And she said, that's not good. She said, it helps. And she said, no, it's everything. And so that's kind of why we all do what we do. It's a story of hope, and it's a story of faithfulness and perseverance, which is a strong word for being strong. You're very strong, and very strong to even share this with people today. So if you have a tragedy that's 20 years old, or that's not over, or you don't have closure to, or maybe you hate someone that hurt someone you love, that's the thing. And I know we need to quit, but I'm like, and I'm not even a violent person. I mean, to not want to rip someone to shreds. I mean, I'm mad now. Like, I'd like to find the person and go to prison. But nothing comes from that but bad. That is not what Jesus did.
Her number one prayer is not that he gets what he deserves.
She said she wants him to go to heaven.
To get saved. To get saved.
That's your mother's legacy.
That's what my mom would want.
And that's
mom would, if my mom knew that I held harbored to hate in me, she would be disappointed in me, and I don't, she would.
That's the point of today. What we live with our lives, our legacy, is what matters. It might be long, it might be short. It was just Father's Day, and I thought about my dad and how, we weren't like investors, you know what I mean? And just kind of normal, hillbilly, just in West Virginia kind of thing. My mom and dad worked, they loved us, went to church, great family, like a storybook compared to yours, okay? But my dad instilled in me loving people and worshiping and going to church and forgiveness and how to tell a joke and how to tell a story. He left me that, which is so much more valuable than a gold pocket watch or an investment. What your mom left you was your faith. And now you're able to share that with the world in a way that is pretty significant, that you can look beyond that, what they did, just like God looks beyond, Jesus looks beyond us. He looks beyond our fault. So what are you going to leave behind? What's your legacy? What's your story? And I think if you share it, this might be a new series called Stories. Share this because it might change someone's life.
Also, what God gave me is, he also gave me, when a tragedy happened, he gave me stability with my dad.
Gave you an amazing stepmom,
my mom, Pat.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us today, and thank you, Cristy Layman. We love you. I'm going to hug.
How about it for Cristy?
We hope that today has been a blessing to you guys, and we will see you on the next This Is Real.
This is real.
Don't have a great day. Have a real great day.
That's not even something that we do.
It's fun. I like it.
Miracles.